Now I know why people record in their bedrooms, because number one, your kids are not here, the door is locked and no one can disturb you. That's number one. Number two, the lighting is brilliant in bedrooms because in the afternoons it just literally streams by. So the trick to these videos is to find great lighting, I think. Okay, so this is going to be a very casual conversation and it's not going to have too many editings, but this is something that's literally has been on my heart since the beginning of this year. And I shared a little snippet of it in my Instagram post on the idea of how do you create a learning environment in your home. And I mentioned it very, very briefly that it's about cultivating attentiveness, being able to attend well to your kids and to yourself and the world around you, so that you bring yourself really super engaged, focused, and with your whole self present in every situation. And I want to kind of elaborate on this because I got a lot of messages, because it seems like we all, you know how sometimes it feels like you're so sure that you're not the only one grappling with this. And this topic of paying attention and our attention is a big, it just comes up in all my girlfriend conversations anyway. But this beginning of this year, I took some time off social media and I was reading this book called Deep Work by NewPort. And he was really talking about the value that we bring to our spaces and the things that are important to us when we take the time to create intentionally an environment that allows us to work deeply rather than swimming in shallow waters. And you and I know, like, we are so, like, the busyness of life, we are taught that juggling things, being able to jump from one thing to another is the way, like it's the lifestyle, and it's almost like this inevitability. And I'm a self-confessed juggler of many things because I'm very creatively minded and I'm easily, I love inspiration and I can hold 10,000 ideas in my mind. I have actually, with social media and just life and lockdowns and things like that, I realized that I've been practicing a habit of distractedness, right? So instead of plugging an idea long enough for weeks, literally, and cultivating it, and before I share it, I'm quick to take a quick snapshot photograph and put a quick few words there. And I've just been like, Clarinda, you've got to learn to go deeper, process things, and pay attention. And obviously, because when you rushed, right, when you rush, you want to be quickly productive, but that's not where it's at. I also read an amazing book called Atomic Habits. I highly, highly recommend it. That book also really just brings to fore the idea that we all have goals and we all have places to go to, but the thing that we keep tripping up over and over again is in the area of the habits that we are forming. It's that silent, literally silent sabotager of our lives, when we don't stop to pay attention to, you know what am I rehearsing more than what I say I'm going to do, but what am I literally living out every single day through my actions? It tells me what's most important to me. It tells me the ideas and thoughts that I've been really nursing. It always comes out in our behavior and our actions. So this theme of attentiveness, I really have had brewing over me, because one of the things that I'm most, if there's one thing you must know about me is that I'm a it's a big deal to me, quality time. It's a big deal to me cultivating devotion to God, spending time with God. And that's a big deal to me because it's literally night and day. I can tell you what my life looks like when I'm not connected to God, when I'm not living connected to the people I love. It's not great. So I know this about myself, but I think it is not just a individual attribute of wanting connection and deep spaces that we cultivate attentively. It's a human thing, and that is something that is being constantly almost lost with the habits of distracted living that we keep on doing. Now, how does this all have anything to do with if you're homeschooling, or if you're a mom at home with your kids, or if you are a parent who wants to really maximize creating a healthy, nurturing environment where life happens, where relationship is thriving, where the people there are literally well connected, engaged in meaningful things, in the things that matter the most. I really want to encourage you to explore this idea of attentive living. And I just want to grab something very quickly. And I'm not stopping this because I don't want to edit the videos, but wait. Where am I? Where is this book? Yes. Let me just bring my computer here while we're at it. We can have a nice conversation. I don't want to edit. It takes a long time. There's an amazing book called Laying Down Rails by Sonja Shafer. It's a habits handbook. And one of the first habits that she addresses in this book is actually the habits of attention, right? One of the very first ones. And it's an excellent dive into the mental habits that we need. Attentiveness is a mental habit, is what she describes it in this book. And if you think of a mental habit, it's like a muscle, right, of your mind that you form, right? You have to learn to be able to fix your thoughts on one thing long enough for you to squeeze all the life out of it. She says that all the other gifts and intellectual attributes depend on this habit of attentiveness. And so for the homeschooling mom, anyone that is wanting their kids to really input into your kids and a culture and a habit that will serve them well in every subject area, in their relationships, everything. It starts with attentiveness. To be able to pay attention and to notice things, pause to observe them so that you can be impacted by them. And I want you to look out for a link that I'm going to put in on a podcast that I listened to on this topic. And I'll put a lot of these recommendations that have really helped me meditate on this idea of attentive living. And I'll put it there. And the podcast talks about how our attention, it's endangered basically. I like to make things really simple. And so I'm going to simplify things a lot here. What I want to encourage you and myself with is that attention is a gift, right? I think it's a gift because every time I've seen relationships where people are attending to one another, I see value there. And it's a gift because it's a gift of your presence to another, right? Or to things. It's a practice of devotion, if you think about it. Attentiveness, to bring yourself to be attentive, it means that you're choosing one thing over the many things. It's like the one thing, not all the things, right? And so it's a gift that you give of yourself and your presence to your kids. It's not the gift of the doing. So there are two things that happens in tandem, right? We are called to do, we are doing things, right? You are waking up, you're washing dishes, you're getting things done. But then there's the essence of who we are human beings. We are being in places, right? And so the gift of being and the gift of your presence that you bring intentionally and consciously into a place is a skill to be developed, because it means tuning in and tuning out. It means prioritizing. It means saying no to other things. It means sitting on the ground with your child playing Lego, and instead of being all over the place with all the things you want to do, you actually really there with him, listening to everything he's saying, asking questions, engaging with him, because you're giving your time and yourself to that moment. And what I found when I have stopped to do that, I I start to, the moment becomes a gift to me, even as I give myself as a gift to my kids, right? Because then all of a sudden someone's talking about, conversation has opened up and he's telling me things that have been happening. And that moment where he feels connected to me is where we are really communicating. And then I'm also getting ideas while I'm with him that, oh wow, he says he likes this, he says he likes that. Well, maybe I can do that. I can use that as part of our learning. So the gift of your presence, right, becomes a gift to you as well. Because you are tuned in, you are engaged, you are listening, and also that gift becomes a strong connection point between us and our children. Isn't that so beautiful? And the cool thing about this is you don't have to be the best mom. You don't have to be a homeschooling guru. You don't have to be like intellectually savvy with things. You don't have to know everything to give yourself as a gift to your kids. I believe that this is key to cultivating a learning environment in your home, because what it does is it affirms a human being, it affirms the person, the relationships and connections are forming, and that is an environment already where people can thrive. I think that whole practice of giving yourself also present to what you're doing, right? So right now we are studying birds, right? Now, when you are studying birds and you're giving yourself full attention to it, it means that you are not just looking, yeah, with your eyes. You are observing. You are observing things. You're looking deeply. You are looking at similarities and differences. You are allowing the moment to instruct you, right? And you're bringing all your senses into that space. You are engaged and tuned in, and you're not missing out on the moment because you're rushing off, literally touching here and there and moving on. So when we also assessing, how is my child doing? I think a key thing is assessing, is my child paying attention actually while they're doing the handwriting? Are they just quickly getting things through? Are they just doing their math very quickly just to get on with it? Or are they practicing attention in the things that they're doing? I think it's far better to attend to something, to be doing something attentively for 10 minutes than inattentively for a whole hour. I really, really, really believe this. And I think that the older they get, everything really spins over into this, because if you are not able to pick up a book and read it attentively, right? Yes, you'll be able to have that lazy habit of telling us where the story came from, who are the characters and what happens. But if you are able to practice the skill of attentiveness, then you're able to read even on a deeper level. Then the book starts to speak to you. Then you discover that, for example, Bilbo's adventures in The Hobbit speaks of a larger adventure of life where we are all called to leave the Shire, our place of comfort, right? And to be stretched out into an adventure where there's risk, but we are impacted forever, right? So then you're able to really train yourself to be a lifelong learner when you practice this habit of attentiveness. Isn't it amazing? I think it's incredible how simple this could be. And the thing is, if you're struggling with a child, and I had this the other day, I was struggling with something I was observing in one of my children. And the same thing happened in one moment. And instead of rushing off trigger happy to go and shout and la da da and whatever, I stopped and I was like, Lord, what are you speaking to me about right now, about this child in this moment? And you know what was amazing? I was able to write down 2 things that actually opened up an entire discovery that is now helping us address that very, very issue. So I really, it's a gift and something to really be cherished and practiced. And imagine this with our children, with our husband, with the learning that we are doing. Imagine this with our friendships. When you meet up with a girlfriend and you attend to them, that is a huge gift. But I want to tie this up and say that we are all so precious, you and I, and there is a creator who has given us his full attention. He gives us his full attention. He is the modeler of attentiveness, and he is incredible because he's able to hold all his attention on one person in one focused space, right? And still have the same level of intensive attention on the entire world. We are not like that. We have the capacity for attentiveness, but we are not gods. So the trying to hold so many things all at once will drain us, right? That's why we can leave spaces depleted. That's why a homeschooling day can be depleting and sucking the life out of us because we are actually not attending. I think that attending is one of those things that, although it is hard to practice in the beginning, once you become well trained in it, it becomes a practice and a habit that refuels you actually. It literally becomes a drinking of good water, and you're satisfied because you leave relationships, moments of learning satisfied, right? Because you did not swim in shallow waters. Anyway, this is a conversation I'm going to pick up again later, and I'd like to just chat through some of the practicalities around this that I have been learning, and I would invite your input and comments. Let me know if you relate to this, right? Do you feel challenged with your own attention? Do you feel all over the place, scattered, can't finish one thing? Are we trained in distractedness rather than in attentiveness? I'd really love to hear your comments below. What does attention mean to you? And how are you cultivating it? Thanks for joining me.